Okay, so
Hey, I am here with guess who? I tell you what, there's loads of people out there that would wish they were me sitting right here now with Russianvids. Hello, my
oh,
darling.
thank you, Karen. I'm very humbled by that introduction. Thank you so much.
There's loads of people who would love to be in my place, I'm telling you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can
Do
I
you have,
can't thank you enough, Karen, for that generous again introduction. Thanks so much.
oh, well, you're like, we were just talking about Elvis. You're like one of the other kings, aren't you? The king of flat.
Oh, come on, please, Karen. I'm humbled. I'm very
I'll
humbled
get you,
by
I'll get you singing in a minute.
me singing. Oh, that's yeah, that's not much of a singer, but I just sing the truth.
Yeah, did you have I know we can't say sort of Christmas exactly, but did you have a nice few days over the festive time?
Yeah, and I want to say real quick, I don't get offended if someone mentions Christmas or any holiday. A lot of truthers, they'll like, hey, that's pagan, and it's like I'll just go with the flow. I'm not going to get offended. This is standard. You know, um, it kind of reminds me of my friend David Weiss. When he went to the Flat Earth conferences, he kept saying planet a bunch of times, but we know what he means. It's like it's not literal. We know he's a flat earther. It's just we're just so accustomed, we're so trained to have a certain frame of thought, frame of mind. So again, I don't mind you mentioning Christmas. Say someone out there in the truther world saying Merry Christmas. I don't. I'm not one of these people that are very snobby and get all offended and try to lecture anybody. So not to go on too long about that. I'm just a very easygoing guy.
Mhm. That's good. I'm pleased. But it's a bit hard to know what to say because, like you say, about say 90% of the world is living in Father Christmas land, and you want to say Flatmas Christmas.
Yeah.
Um, something different, or I try and say Crisbo or something. I didn't put a tree up. I'm just anyway. I think yeah.
Well, Karen, I'm glad you mentioned this topic. It's a very important topic about the deception of Christians, the churches. Knowingly or unknowingly, these churches are deceiving the congregation. Think about it for a second. When you look at a Christmas tree that's all dolled up, silver and gold, and a star in it, what they're basically doing is replacing a human king, a human being, a human king, and replacing with the tree. So what does this revolve around? Biblically, you do not worship things that are created. You worship the Creator. So it's the worship of the creation of the pagans, which are tree worshipers. So Christians are manipulated to worship basically a tree. And they'll unknowingly they'll deny it, but they'll sing songs. Oh, Christmas tree! Oh, they're giving praise to a Christmas tree. And this is definitely they've been led down a lie, then laid down this path of lies. And when it comes down to obviously the ball earth as well, Christmas, like we just mentioned, the Christmas tree, and of course Jesus Christ with long hair. So well, reality is this: what the churches teaches have nothing to do with reality. Unlike the school textbooks, which teachers teach directly out of, and they don't deviate. So there's a big difference, and nothing's hidden in this world. And I've said that so many times, but it needs to really be hammered. The people running this world, they hide absolutely nothing, and that includes supposedly dead people being shown right on TV in
I
front of
think
millions of
most
people.
people know, don't they, that he wasn't born now. He was born, say, end of March, April. So it's a bit silly celebrating it now. And
Well,
if he
actually,
was real, his birth date was a completely different day.
Actually, biblically, what it comes down to is um, it would have been it would have been approximately September, maybe early October. It was definitely not during the winter December season. That's completely false. That's more aligned with Baal um, or Nimrod, his birthday, very famous Freemason, the great grandson of Noah. So yeah, it doesn't line up. So definitely what we're getting at here is, and you're leading me up to that, Karen, is it's everything the Bible says is not taught in the churches. So I don't even waste my time attending churches when they don't even speak the biblical truth, the real truth that's in there, but they go along with what's the norm and what's taught and what's stated, but doesn't match up to the words. So it's
So what you're saying is, when you get to school, they don't deviate off anything, and then when we get to that, they deviate completely.
exactly, and that's the thing is, of course, believing, to many people believing the Bible sounds ridiculous because they put all these faces on TV like Joel Osteen, Benny Hinn, TD Jakes. They're all circus clowns. They're very they look fake and phony. They look like a $3 bill. Nothing legitimate about them. So they make believing in a creator seem ridiculous. So a lot of people that consider themselves well read, they'll look at them and say, "Oh, these people are clowns. These people are jokers." And these people will go in the opposite direction. That means becoming an atheist, and they'll totally reject the Bible, Jesus Christ, the whole creation aspect. But here's the thing: is if we just reset everything and just look at the big picture, and this is very important, how this society's run. That we are, we came from monkeys, okay, and if that's the case, we're just random. That means there's no rhyme or reason. We're gonna need vaccines. We're gonna need medicines, man-made medicines, because we're
gonna need the government.
We're gonna need the government. So that means all the fruits and vegetables that have their nutrients were just a coincidence. But I guess it's not enough to supply us, so they have to create
That
other.
doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. The real things.
Well, that's the thing is, like I told you, Karen, I'm almost 46 years old. Never been in the hospital in my life. I believe there's a creator who created everything we needed in fruits, nuts, grains. Everything we need is created for us. And they're trying to disguise that. And obviously, they're trying to outdo God, the creator, by trying to make a better apple, make a better banana, make a better this or that.
It does feel like
because
we're an experiment, to be honest.
Well, I don't think we're.
I mean is they're experimenting on us. Then they're using all these drugs. Let's try this lot out on them. Let's try it's always using the people. And I bet if you actually saw the study cases for some of these drugs, you wouldn't take them. And
Well,
I mean, like a lot of children are being born autistic. When I was being born, it was thalidomide children. So there's been something that they've just been constantly doing to the people.
Well, here's the thing, Karen, is you use the word guinea pigs, and you're correct about that. As far as the people around this world, that they treat people like guinea pigs. But we have to look at the real big picture and analyze things. For example, here in the U.S., in the state of California is a great example. They'll have, when you go to McDonald's, they'll have warning signs everywhere stating, food served at this establishment are known to cause cancers and reproductive harm. Also at Starbucks, the huge coffee franchise. Yes, in the state of California.
Oh my God.
Yes. So it's posted everywhere. You got to hear me out here, Karen. Also, like I said, in Starbucks, there's signs posted where people are sipping on their coffee, eating treats, biscuits or whatnot. There's signs posted in the facilities stating the same thing. When you attend Disneyland in California, in Anaheim, there are signs in the picnic area saying the same thing. Chemicals are known to be present to cause birth defects and cancers. So you have a family lounging, eating their food, and it states that. So what I'm getting at is this: nothing's hidden. It's like this too. Here in the U.S., we can purchase tea sets, cups made in China. On the bottom of these tea sets, on the packaging or on the bottom of the tea set itself, when you lift up the kettle, it will say underneath, again, the same line of, chemicals in manufacturing this product are known to cause cancer. So they can easily remove these cancer-causing, birth defect-causing elements from these products, but they refuse to. But they give us warnings. Why don't they say, no, we're not going to allow these products that can do harm to young children, adults, elderly people of all kinds. No, we're going to leave it in there, but we're going to warn you. And you didn't take our warning. Now, over the years, you're going to be, drinking out of these cups There are no toxins in them. And here's the thing is, this is the sad thing. You could be drinking a very nice tea that's very healthy, very nourishing in a cup that has chemicals that cause cancer. So again, not to repeat myself, but they can easily, they know it, they state it, they give the warning, they can easily remove these products from the market, but they're not doing it. And why is that? This is
The
obviously,
same with tobacco, isn't it? I mean, I watched a program years ago. They had all this tobacco that was cancer free, but they couldn't introduce it because there'd be millions of lawsuits. And you just think, well, why didn't they just give us that in the first place?
yeah, yeah, that's the thing is they warn us, they have all the warning stickers everywhere. And the thing is this, what it comes down to is this, Karen, we have to take responsibility for ourselves and our children and our family. They give us the warnings. Toothpaste as well. Brushing your teeth with fluoride toothpaste is ingested, called poison control. But people might say that use fluoride toothpaste, they'll say, but I don't swallow toothpaste. But they don't understand. It's in your mouth. It's being absorbed. You swallow a little bit. You're brushing your teeth daily, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, depending on the individual. You're ingesting it little by little over the years. And the bottom line is, it's in the water, it's in the air, it's in our food. This is why people are they can't figure out why they're getting sick, why they're getting cancers, why they're getting tumors. And to me, again, I almost 46 years old, I've never been in the hospital in my life, Karen. I
That's
know
really
the
good.
difference. Yeah, I know you as well.
No, that's really good. I've had to go for a couple of things, but well, one thing really, my gallstone problems. But you know what? The astronauts, they swallow. I remember watching that one with the hair that sticks out like Methuselah. She said, either you spit it or you swallow it. And I'm thinking, that's not very good, is it? The
No.
astronauts swallow it.
Yeah, that's almost like a subliminal, like, oh, let me try that as well, to the people listening in, type of thing. They like to, and by the way, not to get off a target, but it reminds me of the astronaut Scott Kelly, who returned supposedly from the ISS. He returns back in a short little video on Facebook. He doesn't say a word. He comes his first day, the first day back in Texas. First thing he does, he posts a video of him next to a swimming pool. He doesn't say a word. He just jumps in the pool, and it's like a subliminal. We're doing this all underwater, he just stand by the pool and he just jumps in it without saying a word. So, it's just everything's in plain sight, Karen. Nothing's hidden, and the truth is out there. And that's one thing I've been really been emphasizing lately in a lot of my video
Yes.
presentations is nothing
Yes.
is hidden in this world. It's everything's in plain sight. They don't hide anything from us, Karen. They'll tell us like little bits and pieces here and there of the truth. Like Bill Nye saying we're living in a contained system. We can't go anywhere. But then he'll continue on to go talk about outer space and all this nonsense. There's a lot of that happening, with Neil
Russian
deGrasse
vids.
Tyson as well. Neil
I've
deGrasse
watched.
Tyson. Yeah,
I've
go ahead.
watched many of your videos, and I know what you were doing even a year ago, what you were doing in your videos. But I was really horrified myself to see it. And, I just like to say on my other channel, Unscrambled channel, I just like to say that everything you said is the truth, because that's exactly what I'm finding, exactly like you said. But I never thought it was actually quite that bad. I thought we were going to get a bit mind controlled and there'd be this and that, but nothing's real. It's all virtual reality
Well,
or deep fake, or none of it's real.
let me say this, Karen. Let me just try to give you an analogy. As a truther, okay, there's like, for example, you're going down a path that's 10 miles, and I'm like 8 miles down the path, and I return to tell people what's in front of us, what I've seen. And people only been down that path 2 miles. They haven't seen what I've seen. They haven't researched what I've researched heavily. So when I tell them what's down that path of my research, they're not going to get it until they see it for themselves. And that takes time. They need to make that journey themselves. And they're not going to get it right away. So I don't expect people to get it right away. The problem with a lot of truthers is they'll try to articulate something, and they want, for example, me telling you something, Karen, that's fresh and brand new about truth. It's not. I don't expect you to get it there and then, or anybody else I'm speaking to. It's about I'm presenting
Thing is,
something.
I hadn't realised though that all the media are in on it. They're all in on it. They're all part of the same thing. There's not a separate bit of this, separate bit of government, separate bit of media. They're all in on it.
Well, that's the thing, Karen. I just posted a video. Recently showing the European Union, the ESA, faking space. What's happening here is in the video presentation, I show this Italian astronaut dropping a clip in his hand with the wire attached. I show a Dutch astronaut dropping a screw. What's happening is this with the Italian astronaut. Things are floating around him through smoke and mirror trickery. Okay, that's all fake. Smoke and mirrors. But what he's holding in his hand is a tangible object that's real. And it slipped out of his hand. So you don't see objects, for example, in the background falling per se, because that's, again, smoke and mirrors. So you're dealing with a real substance in his hand, and he dropped it. Okay? We don't see objects. There'll be objects floating behind him. That's the smoke and mirror. So there's two things going on. A real, it's like a green screen. He's actually touching, feeling something that's real. If he mishandles it, it'll drop. It's that kind of thing. So that's what needs to be understood. Is what we're getting
Can
at.
I ask you something? Do you think that someone's trying to help us at all here? Because when I was looking at Nancy whatever her name is, Pelosi,
Yeah.
the other day,
Yeah.
she actually comes onto the stage with her little entourage, and she's got this, like, all I can think of it is, the brown sticky tape you can get. It's quite thick, and you can use it for, I don't know, the really thick ones. You can use it for joining carpet together, but really use it for parcels. It's brown and it's sticky. Well, she's got a
Brown
patch.
tape?
Yeah, she's got a patch of that stuck on her nose. And it's a bit like everybody can see this if they want. If you don't see it, you just don't see it. But I saw it. She's got this patch, like having a big plaster on her nose. So someone must be trying to help us now. Because why would you want to put, like I did one a few weeks ago with Elon Musk. And so the whole video is fake. And then it was about a fail. So those balls going through the window. So they faked a video of a fail. Why would you want to do that? Something's happening. It's all going back to front. Everything's back to front all of a sudden. Like all these weird things are showing up, which should, anyway, carry on. Yeah. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. They're not any of these people actually trying to warn us of anything or help us. They're mocking us. They're putting the truth in plain sight type of thing. If people really just look at everything, because, like, for example, years ago I had a friend that was convinced Alex Jones was, he was working for us, and he's just going along with the program with the people behind the scenes, but he's trying to help us. Absolutely not. It's like this. Here's a big key thing to remember about Elon Musk, him being propped up on the world stage. Remember the book by Werner von Braun, the head of NASA, and in the book from the 50s, the exploration of Mars was going to be led by a man named Elon. In the book, 2018, 2019, they're pushing the idea of Elon Musk. He's the one that's going to lead the expedition to Mars. How many people do you know with the name Elon are out there? What are the chances a book is written about a man named Elon? By a very famous NASA head in charge of rocketry, and then years later, a man named Elon is going to lead it in the real world. So this is where fiction becomes reality. And I said this before, and this is very important, Karen, for your viewers. When you look back at the Titanic, going back to 1898, with the book called Regarding the Titan. We all know about that book. And everybody knows that the comparison of the Titan with the Titanic, of course, supposedly in the real world, in our so-called history, we are told how the Titanic sunk 14 years later. Correct? So here's the thing is, what I'm getting at, and just give me a moment. I'm going to look this up here. I have it stored. on my hard drive. Now I'm going to go over it again so people can really absorb this. So this fictitious book came out in 1898 called The Titan, and you compare it to the Titanic. All they did was add on the I and the C at the end of Titan to make Titanic. Sunk in 1912, 14 years later. Here's the comparisons. Okay, they both hit an iceberg. The fictional book to the supposed real life on the starboard bow. They both sunk in April. They both sunk near midnight. Both sunk in the Northern Atlantic. Both were British steel vessels. Both were considered unsinkable. They both didn't have enough lifeboats. In both occasions, half the passengers died approximately. So, and the final one I want to mention is they both supposedly crashed 400 miles off Newfoundland. So, again, the principle of fiction become reality. They're telling us what they're going to do before they do it. And this is what it really comes down to. If they have a movie based on a true story, majority of the time it's pushing their created reality. From Apollo 13 to Alcatraz, that phony prison escape, Natalie Holloway, Jeffrey Dahmer, all these, so-called, again, stories based on true events. So again, it's about fiction becoming reality. So we know about 9/11 and all the predictive programming in movies. Well, this goes, again, getting back to the Titanic, before movies they were doing with books. So this is something where I'm basically, to sum up, where I'm getting at is there's nothing new they're doing. They're giving us hints of what's to come. And what I'm doing now is I'm researching, looking at movies closely and seeing what they're going to push out there as future events. And what I see possibly going down is the Golden Gate Bridge eventually. Basically,
is that why you picked your icon? Because I mean, that film just says it all, doesn't it? Really.
I'm sorry, Karen, on which one?
Sorry, your icon, the film that your icon comes from. That film just says it all, doesn't it? Really.
Yeah, they live with Roddy Piper, as you see here, a professional wrestler that became an actor, just like Jesse Ventura went from a professional wrestler to actor to politician. Roddy Piper played the role of a man, that wandering about, from town to town. He ran across this box of sunglasses from this one truck, and there's many of them there. He put the glasses on, and he can see the world for what it really was. But here's the thing: is is very interesting. Is the director is definitely a Freemason, like all the directors in Hollywood. Remember this. This is very key. What happens, Karen, when you put a pair of sunglasses on? Everything becomes unclear. It becomes dark. You can't see as well. But this is duality. When you put the sunglasses on, everything becomes clear.
Is that why all film stars and actors have got sunglasses on then?
Yeah, it's a form of duality of seeing things clearly, when in reality it's obviously if you wear sunglasses and it's a regular day, you look around, you're not going to see as well, but the bottom line is this: a very key point I'm making is the premise is the concept of duality of the black preacher man on the streets. This man is blind, he can't see, and he's talking about the truth of this world, and there's many people that have eyes gathering around him on the street corner, listening to what he has to say. And the blind preacher man is telling everybody the truth of this world, about the leaders of this world, how they have blinded them to the truth. It's a blind man telling people with eyes that they can't see. This is duality as well. So there's a concept of Roddy Piper, the actor, John Nada, wearing the sunglasses, and again, the duality of not seeing as good when you put the sunglasses on, and the blind man telling people that with eyes they can't see. So this is a duality concept. It's very amazing. It's a very interesting movie. Obviously the director's no hero. These movies are not created by people like John Carpenter. They direct them. There's people behind the scenes we never know, we never see, we never heard of. They're telling these people in Hollywood, we want this movie to be out there. Here's a script. This is what we want. We want you to portray this on the film, on the screens for all to see.
It is crazy that, there's more, isn't there? There's like The Matrix. I mean, even Total Recall, a lot of what's happening in that film is what's, like Arnie comes out, gets to Mars, and then he knows who the baddie's in, and he comes out and there's a television up, and there they are on the news. It's the same thing. Lots of these films, yeah, there's more of them, isn't there? Truman Family, or Truman Show, rather say, and there's many more. It's just all bits of these films are just what we're living in.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. Uh, the director is a man named Paul Verhoeven, a Dutchman, and I actually made a video on the whole Total Recall concept. And if people watch the movie, specifically the 1990 one, not the newer one, but the one from 1990, which I'll admit I enjoy. I enjoy movies. They kind of bring you, like everybody else.
I watched that loads of times originally, not now, but I watched that loads of times, Total Recall.
Because it brings you out of this world, our slave 9-to-5 jobs. It's an escape. But here's the thing is, while we're letting our guard down, they're giving us a lot of messages where people can't comprehend the truth in these movies. Here's the thing is, we know this, Karen, in the beginning of the movie when Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's sitting in the chair and he's basically told what's going to happen. And they're basically telling us how the movie is going to play out in the very beginning of the movie. This is duality of telling us what's going to take place. Also, if you watch the making of Total Recall, again with the director of the movie, Paul Verhoeven, he talks about Mars. And again, this is predictive programming of this future supposed travel to Mars. We know it's just a luminary in the sky. It's not actual. But he talked about, it's amazing, Karen. He talked about during the making, this was released back, 91 after the movie came out. And it's part of the DVD collection if you buy it. I actually own it myself. And he talks about how NASA is proposing, they look at things that like what we do, and they're gonna be doing it in the future. So we're giving people a vision of what's going to take place in the future. And he's literally telling you exactly what's happening. That they're planting a seed in the mind about supposed future, travel to Mars, colonization.
They like doing that, though, don't they? Because I was watching this video and I was actually looking at the deep fake, and I was looking how the news was showing us about deep fake. So they get everybody interested because it's deep fake, and then in it they go back to the newsroom and then they say that we're going to a war with Iran. So they get you there on something else and then they tell you something else.
Yes, that's how they do it too, and it's really a cartoon world we're living in. Here's a good example. I recall back in when the whole thing with Bin Laden was going down initially after 9/11, they had Donald Rumsfeld on one of these nightly newscasts, and they're going over this diagram that was released by, I believe, I could be wrong, it's one of these London newspapers, or London Times or whatever. It was a London-based a media outlet, and they somehow ascertained the diagram of Bin Laden's lair, how complex it is, the tunneling, how tanks and huge military vehicles can go inside, how there's all these technologies in there, and the ventilation system, all the offices, the heating and cooling. And Karen, all they were doing was showing us a cartoon. It was basically a cartoon, no footage, no video footage of anything. And this is supposedly this complex, compound that Bin Laden has.
And who really met him? Really?
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna get to. I'm gonna get there.
But sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. And then Donald Rumsfeld goes on to say, and by the way, there's not just one of these. There's many of them, and they're just showing us a cartoon concept. It's literally a cartoon drawing with paint and like an artist rendition. They're not showing us anything real. It's just like our baller. It's just a painting. Bin Laden, just a painting. When you have, um, we got to be careful here with your channel, but certain events here in the U.S., in certain cities like Boston and Newtown, and they're showing us cartoon drawings of trials. They're not
Yeah, so what
real.
they're doing is they're going alarm, alarm, alert, alert. And then you get a cartoon, you're told what's happened, but nobody ever saw it.
That's exactly what it is. It's not a real event. They're not going to have real footage, to demonstrate to prove their case. They know that not only the American public, but the public in general in this world, they're very global and just believe it. It's in the news. They don't need proof of anything. All they need is a cartoon drawing of Earth, a cartoon drawing of Bin Laden's a layer, with all the sophisticated tech that he supposedly created in these mountains in the middle of nowhere. Like, they're going to somehow get all this technology and create this apparatus in some mountain. It's just absolutely absurd. And we know they're liars and they love to mock the general public. And of course, anybody here's the thing is, about the whole concept of truth. The majority of people I know in my life, when I told them a lot of my truth that I know, they got very angry, upset, and blocked me on social media, only for them to come back to me, apologize. Then they become obsessed with the truth. I had this one friend who that happened with. A coworker from years ago, and then I talked to him now, and over him getting upset about some truths I said on social media, blocking me. Then I see him, and now he's obsessed with it. He tells me about all the truth he talks about to friends. He's telling me about his wife saying to him, like, "Oh my goodness, your friend really got you really involved with this truth." And he goes, "Yeah, now I just can't see things differently." It's like this. There's an analogy of Santa Claus. Once you realize
It's a
Santa
bit like
Claus,
that bit. It's a bit like
once
that
you,
bit.
yeah, Karen,
Once
hold
you,
on. 1 second, Karen. Once you realize Santa Claus is not real, you're not going to go back to believing Santa Claus again. You're not going to I realize Santa Claus is not real, but I'm going to go back to believing in Santa Claus. It just doesn't happen. It's the same thing with anybody being involved with truth. Once you're awake, there's no going back to sleep.
but once you see it, you can't not unsee it, can you? You just
Exactly.
can't unsee it once you see it.
Yes, exactly,
It's
Karen.
like it's like being given another eyesight in a way, whether it's in your brain or it's in your eyes. Like you're looking at it. But once you see this stuff, I can't go back and pretend that it's not there. So I
Yes,
only imagine the nightmare. You go to the computer and you think, oh, there it is. It's in your face, no matter where you go, what you do, because it is just if we understood really, if everybody understood, they would never want to watch that television again with what they're doing to you.
well, the thing is this, Karen, this is the most important aspect.
It
And
made
this,
me realise, Russianvids, there are no politicians. When I watched that footage of Boris and his little diddy man in the street about 20 feet away from the curb, yet the road's only width of two cars, side by side cars. And then I showed you that reporter. There he was, this big reporter, and this little tiny Boris. So it's all filmed before, and that means. And also, I was checking the media. ITV. I know you have different stations to us. ITV. So I suppose it will go Sky, ITV, and the BBC. They're the big news ones. If anybody's going to watch news here, they'll go to one of those channels. I'm not saying there's not other ones, but that's usually where they'll go. But when it comes to weddings and you know elections, more people go to the BBC to watch it. They just do here. But anyway, I was just a bit shocked though for this landslide majority of 80, and 67% vote, which was much more than I could ever imagine because we haven't been voting much lately. Um, Basically, the ITV, so sort of at least 24 hours later, 6,300 people had watched it, and only 53,000 had watched it on the BBC. This is Boris doing his "I'm back in 10 Downing Street" with the moving tree. So it just showed me that we didn't vote. People did vote, but they didn't vote like they said. A lot of people didn't vote, and then it was all made before. And your vote meant nothing because he was always going to get in with an 80-seat majority. It's just so sad, isn't it? And I saw it for myself this time. You know, like the things you've been saying. I saw it, I understood it all for myself. You know, there's no way I could ever vote for that again because you're not really getting a vote. You're only getting what they want. And if you vote for that, you're just going to get another one of them in that system. It's horrible.
Well, Karen, it's very simple. You look at an astronaut or you look at a politician, you're just looking at actors. These people that supposedly went into space,
Yeah,
they've never
actors.
been in space, so they're not astronauts. They're just actors. When you look at politicians reading off lines, reading off a script, they're not politicians. They're actors. You know.
Actors, I agree. Or they just have their picture taken, a little bit of film, and then they deep fake them in. But they're
But
still actors.
one thing is certain is these people are connected, and their family, and they're like
Hey, can I ask you something? I
yeah.
do want to ask you something. I noticed when I looked at the footage of Elvis Presley, he had, every time he put his hand up, his hand was really white, you know, just like a white man, because obviously his mother was a black lady, wasn't she? So his hands are completely white, his face is orange. Trump has the same thing, and Kennedy had the same problem. They've all had this yellow appearance in their skin, you know, orange yellow. What is that, Russian vids?
Well, actually, Karen, when you talk about the orange face, when it comes to like, I've seen it with William Shatner, like you said, Donald Trump, and several other people. You know, I told you it's really a bizarre world we're living in, of course. But the reason for the orange face with Trump specifically is, you know, just like the Golden Gate Bridge, it's called golden, but it's an orange painted bridge. Orange is the only color in numerology that is 33. So they're obsessed with that number 33. That's the foundation. And because I've actually showed many images showing Trump's face, you can see there's actual orange makeup being applied to his face. You know, it's.
He looks like a panda bear.
I'm sorry.
I said he looks like a panda bear.
Yes, that's well stated, Karen. Exactly, and it looks like a basically a clown, a circus clown, and it's put on there. And these people, they're really obsessed. It's beyond the human mind.
Can I ask you something? When
Yes.
you go into your research, you spend hours doing it, don't you? Hours.
Not hours, years.
You know,
Years
all
of
right
research.
then. Yeah. When you make your, like, so what I'm saying is, that when people come and they make all these flippant comments, it's a bit like I just want to turn around and say, well, if you think you know better, I'll show you what to do, and you'll come out with the same, you know, ending as me. Because people don't realize you put a video together, it might be 5, 10, 15 minutes long, but it took me hours. It took me maybe 30 little videos to make that one video to show people and explain it.
Yeah, it's a lot of
And they
it's a
and they
lot
still
of
don't
time and
always
effort
get
and
it.
research. Karen, the thing is this: what people need to understand out there is when you make a video, you have to do a tremendous amount of research before you even go into the editing tools to make the video. It's a tremendous amount of not to say the word manpower. It could be woman power if you're a female video creator. It's a lot of hours that go into the research, a lot of hours in creating the video itself. You know, and a tremendous amount of things. Here's the thing: is if I make an hour video, you know, people are trying to dissect it, pick it apart, try to analyze it, and they're looking for holes. That's an important aspect as a video maker. You really need to refine your tools and really, you know, do your research and make sure if you find information, try to validate the best you can before presenting it. Because if you do tremendous work but one little thing's off, they're gonna try to pinpoint that one flaw in your tremendous video. So over the years, I really refined that, trying to, you know, we're all human, we all make mistakes, but really trying to minimize and hopefully eliminate any type of errors during a video presentation.
Yeah, also though, as time goes on, I mean, what I first thought about that Watts case, I not changed my mind, but I learned more and more and understood more and more. I had to not change my mind, but I move things along. The more you understand, the more you change it a little bit. You have to because you know more now.
Well, Karen, it's just simple. You know, it's okay to come to new conclusions based on new solid information. It's not about changing your mind. It's coming to, okay, now I have a new piece of information. It changed the whole complex of how I see things. So none of us are above correction. None of us are beyond coming to new conclusions based on new solid information. So we're not like, okay, I had this stance, I must stay there. It definitely, with new information, again, it's okay to come to new conclusions. And that's key to explain to people, because a lot of people are like, well, you didn't say that last year. You thought you said this. Well, last year I didn't have the same information I did this year. I found some new bits, new pieces to come to a new conclusion. So that's perfectly fine. You know, you don't need to be static with your information. You know, people, you know, I hate to use the word, we evolve over time mentally. And again, we're not the same person we were 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago. And that's what it comes down to.
I couldn't get my button off. Sorry about that. I couldn't get my button off quick enough. Yeah, you know that bit with Trump's orange face? Like, I know we probably all see it, but we just don't take any notice. But I mean, if you actually take any pictures of him and blow it up, you can see it. I mean, why would he want to look like that? It's just, so what I mean is that face is just a message for everyone else.
Well, the thing is this, Karen, we have to understand, again, this world is all about symbolism. Forget about words that are spoken. Words are meaningless. And these Masons, it even goes back to their handbook, you know, years ago. It's in their encyclopedia. You know, Masons learn to communicate without speaking. They, you know, sign symbols, dates, numbers, and colors. They work off a different, a mirror reflection of, so to speak, of how we work. You know, and that's why they love the mirror image of, for example, you see the Queen Elizabeth of England. Of course, you see a lot of photos of her, and you'll see her next to a mirror. They love this duality aspect, the mirror on the wall. So they like the opposite reverse, and the way we work, they work off a totally different system than we do, and that's why the general public
Do you know
doesn't.
something? I just couldn't even believe it because like you say, you have to almost some of this you're going to have to go and research yourself because it's the only way you're going to know the truth. But when I
Well, the
looked
thing
up
is, Karen,
Meghan bringing the baby in, you know, they
yeah.
never walked through that corridor in there. They never did that. That was all superimposed on there. I mean, if they didn't want to be that, why couldn't we just heard their voices? You know, they had to make a fake video of them, you know, walking, and it's just what a load of rubbish, and people don't see it.
Well, Karen, it's like this, and this is the best analogy I can give. Imagine you had a puzzle box, 10,000 piece puzzle, and you know, you have it, and you put it like 90% of it together. Even at 90%, you got a good idea of what's going on. You might not see every detail. There might be a little, you know, the 10% that's missing. It might be there's a few pieces that are vital that you need to see to get the big picture, but you have a good idea what's going on. The problem is this: the general public, they haven't put any of the pieces together. Here's the thing: is you talk to a standard regular person walking the streets that believes the media. Everything they believe and state is basically regurgitating what they're told. Ask them anything that they figure out, or they come to the conclusion based on their own research. They couldn't tell you. So all they do is regurgitate what they're told in the schools. So they wouldn't have an idea. Here's what I'm getting at. They wouldn't have an idea that they're being lied to because they never question anything that was presented to them by their authority.
You're sure right about that one. Also, you know, we're in a society where they want everything in 10 seconds. Wham, bam, there you go, wham, bam. And when you're trying to explain this stuff, you can't do it in 10 seconds, can you?
No, that goes along with the truth of this world. If you want to learn this, like my channel, that's why I make tremendous amount of videos. Everything can't be covered in one video. If you try to explain this deception of this world in a 1 hour discussion, it's just not going to happen. It's like attending a university. You have to attend the University of Truth, and you have to be dedicated to it to understand what's going on. It's just like anything else. You have to really, really pay your dues, do your research. You have to have a passion for truth to find the truth. It's not going to be handed off. Like,
Do you know what I've started to do as well is sometimes I used to have a video that's maybe 20 minutes long and try and put it all as much as possible in one video. But now I've sort of thought, no, I need to do these little 4 or 5 minute ones and do a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. Because if you try and put it all in one, I don't think people see it the same. You have to just do little videos about it. Sometimes I do longer ones. I'm trying to make sure I do smaller ones so that's just that one bit, because there's just so much all the time to go into.
Karen, I'm glad you mentioned that, because sometimes I'll do a video presentation that's 15 minutes long. It's a lot of just talking, and it has vital information. And for people
Yeah, but
that,
everybody likes hearing you talk, though, don't they, Russianvids? They like hearing you talk, though.
yeah, well, I hope so. But what I'm getting at is this: I'll put out a 15-minute presentation, and then I'll take that same video and I'll do a shorter, condensed version, get right to the point. So it'll be like a 2-minute version with the compact information, less details maybe, but the gist of it is the really hard hitting points are in that 2-minute presentation. So you'll have a longer version for people that have more time, and a 2-minute version for those that don't have the patience to sit for a 15-minute presentation.
Yeah, and this school of life, it isn't just a 5-minute wonder, is it? In the 10-second wham bam. And the one thing that I'm quite shocked is the more that you think you know, the less you actually know.
Yeah, well, even the foundation of this world, this is the question mark. People are always questioning if we're living in a evolutionary based world, created world, or simulation. Those are the three. Well, people say this computer simulation. Well, who created the computer? A spiritual being is the creator of this physical world.
Hey,
And
Russianvids, look at it this way, right? I know that we've taken all this for granted, even right now, you and me talking to each other. And I know that there's the ether and all that, but we're talking to each other without any time delay, with no wires, and you're hours away from me in another time zone, even though we're in the sort of same time zone to have this chat. But there's no wires, there's no nothing. I think whatever technology was here, they know all this technology, with whatever you want to call it, the Tartaria, whatever you want to call that period of time where, you got there and all the big buildings were there. They had all this technology, and they're just, I don't know, it's like people need to think how a television or even a screen, look at it. It's amazing, really.
yeah, and that's part of faking space is, like when they do a news broadcast, when they say it's live, there's a 7-second delay, because just in case something goes wrong, they can cut that footage. They purposely do that 7-second delay, supposedly with the astronauts in the ISS, just to create this vision of, oh, they're so far away type of thing. But yeah, it's very interesting. And the technology they have is, we don't know how far it goes, what's hidden. We can only guess what technologies they have. It's beyond the human mind what they can do. I'm sure they can do some pretty amazing things, but one thing they can't do is create something out of nothing. They can't do that. They can't create out of nothing a new animal to come to this world. Like, for example, we have dog, cats, and create a whole new species of animal. Only God can do that, and that's the foundation of this world. Is they can do a lot with technology, but flesh and blood and everything else, that's a whole. That's where the creators comes in, and that's something
I
that
think
can't.
this whole thing they've got us in is disgusting, to want to do this to the people.
Well, here's the thing: is Karen,
People don't realize it
these
takes your
people are not even
freedom
human.
away.
Karen, you have to understand that, Karen. These people are only part human. They're barely human. Um, they are the fallen seed. These people, it's like I said so many times when you watch Star Trek, The Truth in Plain Sight, where you have this Vulcan, Spock, who's half human, half Vulcan. He despises his human side. He can't stand his human side. He thinks humans are illogical, and he hates the fact that he's half human. It's like the truth in plain sight with the people that run this world, the bloodline, and they hate their human side, and they don't have, like, Spock doesn't have any feelings, no compassion. He's just like a robot. That's what the people that run this world. When people are dying of cancers, or people are getting, children are being victims of autism through vaccinations, they don't feel it. They don't feel anything. They don't feel the guilt. They don't feel the pain. They're just they don't have that guilt. They don't have a conscience. They're, like I said, that word, barely human. They're just partially human, and that evil the evil side is taken over type of thing. And again, it's just they
Do you
do the
know what as well? Do you know what as well? When I mean, I can't prove this, but it seems to me that when we did this big exodus to America, right? When we really got there, we were put in concentration camps. Basically, they were called what do you call it? Where you go, where they put and they took the children, and I think Hitler was the end of it. That's what we, like it was he was one of those places where they're putting the parents in some kind of camp, taking the children and selling them or sending them off. They've been doing this to us for a long time. What we've been living in for as long as we can go back, I mean, reasonably, is ugly and horrible, really horrible.
yeah. Yeah, it's really disturbing, and again, even going back to people that are maybe not in the bloodline. In
Quarantine. That's it. They called them quarantines, even to go to America. So, supposing this Dutch bloke turns up, so he's an immigrant, and then when the next lot comes, so many years later, they will get, because I'll say, oh, there's diseases on the ship, whatever they use, and then they put them in quarantine and took the children. I just think, in the early 1800s, like mid 1800s, say. So for the last nearly 200 years, it's been damn ugly here. Whatever it is, it's ugly.
Sure has been, and they're continuing it. Even the people not in the bloodline, they have the Bohemian Club, Bohemian Grove, in Northern California, where they have a ceremony called the cremation of care. They're removing their cares. That's what the whole ceremony is about. Teaching even those not in the bloodline to remove your thought or care of your fellow human being, and that's what's happening. With
Well, that's it. It's like we've been put in a boot camp, but they've forgotten to tell us because, if you go into the army, the whole point is that no one's supposed to be a whole. You break that person down to become part of the group. And that's kind of what they've done in society. They've got to break society down to become part of the group because you're not allowed to be an individual anymore unless you've got lots of money or you're the chosen ones.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. Is do not be your own individual. If you are, you're going to be mocked and ridiculed for not going along with the program. Just being a good
And it
soldier.
goes back to the very words you said when you first came in, is that they've taught society not to be responsible for itself. So now, there's so many whammies going on for people. Because imagine in relationships, if you can't be responsible for yourself, don't be in a relationship with anybody.
Yeah, exactly. If you can't take care of your personal finances, how can you lead a company type of thing as well? So yeah, that all goes hand in hand with the way things are and the way things should work in this world.
It's so deep, though, isn't it, Russianvids, this whole thing? So, so deep. Because, I remember, like, it's probably 4 or 5 years ago, whatever it was, I was thinking, yeah, I watched one video. To me, it was like, God, why didn't I see this before? But I spent a few years trying to not get myself out of it, but prove it day in, day out. Like, I needed, oh, look, there's another video about, oh, because that's the way our society is. But shouldn't have to, really. We should already have had all that information to start with.
Yeah.
Who are we? Where are we? We still don't know.
Well, to me, I said this many times. We could see a painting by someone that passed away 300 years ago, 500 years ago. We never saw the person paint it, but we know that painting was created, and that's how I come to the conclusion, basically, of this created world. We don't get anything out. We don't get anything. This chair I'm sitting on right now, Karen. I didn't see the person build it. That's but I know somebody had to build it. Some apparatus, even if it's done by a factory where it's robotics. Well, someone had to put the robotics together to get that chair made. So everything has to be put in play, and definitely there's a creator in this whole nonsense of evolution, the whole nonsense of some computer.
Do you know what though, Russianvids? For the people, I find it so. Imagine those. I actually not going to forget your words because I made a video with you in it, didn't I, a couple of weeks ago, a week ago, when you're just saying, for those that are relying on the newspapers and have been listening to it for 20, 30, 40 years, you've got to do these things quite slowly though, because yeah, I use that part of your video that we had, one of our first ones.
Yeah, I saw that, Karen. I appreciate you uploading those videos.
Well, that
And
video was trying to show people that there's not just me talking about it, that loads of other people are. And each one of you had a section of what I was really talking about. And it just all came together in this video.
yeah. Well, that's the thing about me, Karen, and not to get off topic, but I think it's really important for us to be concise about information, get to the point. That's the problem. Not to go on too long about this, but there's a lot of podcasts that go on a long time. It's just a bunch of people talking about a lot of nothing. And I like to really be on podcasts where it's concise to the point and doesn't need to be long. It's about compact information. Doesn't need to be long. It could be shorter, and to really get the truth out there. If we're truthers and we have an 8-hour podcast and we're just talking about everyday life, we're not really helping anybody. We really need to focus on the information. And that's what I really emphasize is being information based, not really conversation based in my podcast.
Yeah, I understand that, and I'm agree with you with that. But because there's nowhere to go and no one to help us, we're on our own. And like I say, we've got to once we learn we're responsible for ourselves and we realise we don't need
Yeah.
them. But
Well, this is
we're left with
off
nowhere
topic,
to
Karen.
go.
Yeah,
We're
this
left
is
with
off
nowhere.
topic. This is
Yeah.
off topic, Karen. But like for example, people going on and on, just like friendly chat. I don't mind that when it's like on off air, offline. But when we're live, we're talking to people. Don't want to waste your time. I really want to get to the information. So that's what I'm all about.
Yeah, we're only at the stage where we can talk, though, isn't it? Even if like you say, you want to make your precise piece of information, but we're left with talking right now because there is nowhere to go. No one's going to help us. No one's coming to help us.
Well, that's the thing is, it's definitely good.
They're
For
vampires.
example, there's a lot of people. I'm going to be very blunt, Karen. There's a lot of people that join podcasts that 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 know what's going on. They're maybe not so well at articulating it. They're not maybe that articulate themselves, or they don't. They're maybe shy. They want to be part of a group, and again, it's about we go live. It's about us getting the information out there to the many of people that are listening. That's why it's so important. And again, behind the scenes, having conversations. What I talk about during live streams is it's so important because I know people. Some people might live in remote areas. Some people might live in a city or town where there's not a lot of people they can associate with because they're dead asleep. So we all come together on a platform. But again, I think it's vital on live streams to really put the information out there. And of
Also, there's
course,
some people that can do it and some people can't, and you can do it. You've got a good voice. You know what you're saying. You're an intelligent person, and you're Russian vids. But not everybody can do what you do. It is true, they can't.
well, yeah, and I appreciate you saying that. What the point I'm making those really is that's why I think it's important to have the chat box open, to have the comment section open, which I've done on my channel. So people that are, for example, feel isolated, feel alone because again, in maybe their family, their friends, their peers, their town, they feel isolated and lonely, or in some cases because they don't have people they can discuss the truth with. So they come onto your platform, Karen, my platform. They go into chat boxes. But again, when it comes to speaking on air live, or even if it's pre-recorded, whatever the case may be, is I really like to get to the point and really try to be concise with the information and get it out there so others can also arm themselves when they maybe want to try to wake up a family member or friend. They can articulate the information to them and hopefully get them to wake up. And that's key. Keep things simple. Don't make things complicated. And try to wake up mankind and not mankind, but women. Mankind's just a word. I hate to use that word mankind when there's male and female in this world, but definitely that's where my success with my channel has been created, because I keep things simple so someone that's 8 years old to 80 years old can understand it, and really be again compact with the information, be precise to the point, and that's what we're doing here now as well.
Where would you like it all to go, Russian vids?
How would I like?
Because I mean, if we wake up tomorrow and the truths come out about most things, it's going to create some kind of chaos. But I can't, it's so ugly what we're living in. It's just, I
Well,
can't even find. I'm running out of words now. I've used every word I could think of on my channel, I think, except swear words. I'm just like gobsmacked that day in, day out, that they're doing this to us.
it's very simple, Karen. Look at the way for example, here's an analogy. Look at not even an analogy, the truth. The way I behave. I'm not falling for when I watch something on the news. I'm not falling for it. I'm exposing it. I'm not believing them. Once people realize they're being lied to on a grand scale, they're not going to listen to these people on TV anymore. They're gonna switch off their TV. It's going to be.
I think that happened. I think more people were coming over to YouTube, and now the big businesses come over to YouTube, which is why all the changes have happened. Because now we've got to fall in line with what the big business wants with their adverts. So it's already happened. They've already turned YouTube into like the TV now with adverts.
Well, that's a slow metamorphosis they're doing, and eventually, all smaller channels are going to be eliminated. That's why I've recently pushed a 153news.net, created by Jason Boss, a former Google employee, YouTube employee, who's currently living in Panama, and who's created a network that basically nothing can be taken down. And he's had lawsuits, takedown notices, which him in Panama they can't do anything about. So what I'm getting at is very important to understand. YouTube, it's just a matter of time before it's no more. It's no longer going to be viable for truth. That's why I'm putting my.
They gave us this platform, and then they've taken it away. Really, that's what they're doing. They're
Oh, the
telling
thing
you
is,
you've
just
got a
Karen, you have to
voice.
understand though. Karen, you have to understand.
You know that they put an algorithm on your channel for those they don't like, and they put you at the bottom. I think
Oh, I
that's
know
just,
that.
and they take your views off, and they take your subs off. They don't care.
Karen, here's the thing is, and this is, people are not going to like what I'm going to say, and this is the reality. Google, multi-billion-dollar company, a lot at stake, a lot of money at stake. They're making hundreds of millions per second, I'm sure. They're making multi-millions of dollars per second. Here's the thing is, we cannot rely on these people. We have to, as a truth community, we need people like Jason Boss, who creates the infrastructure for us to spread the truth. We cannot rely on the enemy to pass the truth on. It's their medium. It's theirs. These people are evil. The people that own YouTube.
I wrote to Trump, didn't I? I knew he wasn't going to reply, but I did it for the channel to show that he wasn't going to reply. I knew he wasn't.
Well, here's the thing is, going back years ago, this is what I've always tried to emphasize, and not to say this, and it might come off arrogant and egotistical, but I'm going to just say it. I always felt like I was head and shoulders above the rest when it comes to truth. There's these huge channels on YouTube pushing Ron Paul as the Ron Paul Revolution. He's going to save us. I told these clowns, I said, are you guys kidding me? He's part of the establishment. He wouldn't be part of this rigged system unless he was part of the game. What are you doing? You're having people buy into this to this lie, fraud election system. Well, Ron Paul is a lesser of two evils. I said, no, they're all evil.
People need to watch some of the footage, because none of the telephones that they're showing are actually filming what's going on in the room. And you'll hear the reporter go, which channel they're from, RT, whatever it is, whichever channel, and the phones aren't watching what's going on. It's ridiculous.
All of it, Karen. They need to tune out from all of it. I don't care if it's RT, Alex Jones, Infowars. They need to tune out of all of that nonsense. It's all controlled. They have the mainstream controlled. They have the alternative media controlled. It's all controlled. It's all about divide. Everything's about divide. Even truth is a divide, to be honest. But I'm fully aware of that. Even when it comes to flat Earth, when they constantly talk about in the mainstream, that's because they want to divide us. They want to divide us every which way. But I'm fully aware of that. And I said that from the very start. When no one else was saying it, I said, look, this flat Earth truth is coming out. But here's the thing is, it's going to be a major divide in society eventually. It's going to make it in the mainstream. You're going to see people talk about flat Earth in the mainstream media. You're going to have celebrities talk about it. That's exactly what happened. And I'll never forget it. I said, there's going to be celebrities talking about flat Earth. Just watch. Some movie star, some actor, somebody in sports. And the first one to come out to talk about flat Earth in recent history was that one female reality star, Tila Tequila. So they put the truth out there with a controlled puppet that has no credibility to make it sound ridiculous, but it's the truth, So that's how they do it, And I'm really getting fed up with people bickering with people back and forth about a bunch of nonsense about the news. But the general idea, what I'm trying to portray is we shouldn't rely on YouTube. We should create our own platform like Jason Boss has with 153news.net. These people are here to help us. We shouldn't rely on them. We shouldn't rely on the government. We shouldn't rely on the government to take care of our health, to take care of any of us in any which way. We shouldn't rely on YouTube.
Yeah, because they've got us. Because basically, we've turned into a nanny state where, you know, the big business run everything, and then, you know, like in Mars, it was they tried to stop the oxygen. Here, they could stop our food or any other thing because they're in control of everything without anybody monitoring. I mean, there's some serious things wrong with the footage. NASA, the whole thing. Not one politician is saying, "Hey, I can see it," or "There's something wrong." This is what can't they see?
Yeah, it's
Because
just
some of them are real, aren't they? Some of them, you know, some police officers, all these people, they're real people with their hearts and souls into their jobs and their lives. But the ones above them are the ones. But what don't they see? What can't they see that other people? Why do we see it and other people don't see it?
well, it's like this. You know, here's an analogy. For example, you have a psychological operation. You have all these people in the military or police involved, EMTs, and they're taking part of a secret operation. Like one, I don't want to mention any names, but like a psyop that happened in the U.S., a psychological operation in Boston or Newtown or wherever. They feel they're dealing with a very high power in government. They feel empowered. I have a secret. They feel like they're taking part of something very important, and they're sworn to secrecy about these kind of things. So, you know, people love to have secrets and know information nobody else knows. And so a lot of these people involved, you know, their careers will be in risk. Of course, they came out and said anything about it. But definitely what you said earlier about the police forces, you know, you have the lower level police are just told to do what they do. And of course, like for example, you'll have a commander of a police station. They're going to be a Freemason, and they're going to instruct their officers below them to do as they're told. And you know, that's what it comes down to. You're not going to make it on top of this world if you're not a yes
I
person.
just wish people would realise, though, that the news, all of it, it's just like, well, I'll go to the older ones: Dallas, Dynasty, EastEnders, Coronation Street. That's all you're watching. You're not watching real stuff. You're just watching a mind control game.
Well, I'll say it like this, Karen. When I said news is fake, you know, over a decade ago, I said your news is fake to people. People say, "What are you talking about? You don't think anything is real?" They say, "Oh, you know, people making videos on me saying, 'Oh, Russianvids, he has no credibility because he thinks everything's fake.'" And I tell us to people repeatedly, I said, I didn't say everything's fake. I said your news is fake. There's a big difference between everything, which is things you see in your real life, local news, events that happen in big cities that are not covered. I said your news is fake. There's a big difference. And all these majority of these people that said, "Oh, Russia is nuts. He thinks everything is fake. All this news is fake." Those same people, they're making videos about all the hoaxes and psyops, you know, that are going on in the media. Before they only cover the moon landing, 9/11. They wouldn't touch anything else. They wouldn't cover like me. I was the first one to call it the O.J. Simpson as a hoax anywhere. The what happened in 1996 in Atlanta, which they recently made a movie on. No one else was touching this. I'm like, look, these people are lying about big things, 9/11 and the moon landing.
It's so
Why should we trust them
horrible.
on anything else? Why should we trust these liars? They're lying about these on big things. I can't trust them on little things either. But people
It's
that
so
get back,
horrible to do this to the people, though, Russian vids, to play on people's feelings and create something that's not real. You know, or to me, even like those paused astronaut that I saw on this bit of footage, to me, it's creating reality that doesn't exist, and it's taking your freedom away by making you believe something that's not real.
that's the grand illusion. You know, that's definitely the grand illusion of what's happening. And again, people have to look deeper. You know, it's many layers. It's like this world's like an onion. There's many layers to the lies. You have to keep peeling away to get to the core.
Yeah, it's a big onion.
Yeah, and many layers of the deception. And the one big deception I need to touch upon, Karen, is very vital, is the Bart Sibrel deception. The man that confronted all these astronauts going, you know, in their homes, you know, doing interviews, setting up camera in their homes. How do you go from astronaut home to another astronaut, to another astronaut, to another astronaut, cross country, conducting interviews without one astronaut warning the others. Hey, I was just interviewed by this man named Bart Sibrel, and he set me up. He told me it was going to be an interview about our accomplishments, but he went on.
Good point.
He went on about how the moon landing was fake. Why didn't any of the astronauts warn their fellow astronauts about this? It tells you basically what I believe happened is each astronaut, after everything went down, they were told, "Look, I was sent here by your controllers. You are not to inform your other fellow astronauts, so-called astronauts, about this, because I'm going to do the same thing to them. Don't tell them anything, because these people, they never accomplished anything. They're just actors. They never been to the moon. They never been in space. So they were told after the fact, do not call and warn the next astronaut I'm going to go visit, because I'm going to visit him in his home as well, as I did to you." So it's like an episode of Punk'd. You know that Punk show where they pull a prank on people? That's exactly what happened. Because how can he, again, I have to emphasize, how can he go from home to home to home of all these astronauts, and none of these astronauts call their fellow astronaut and warn them, don't do an interview with this man. He's setting you up. It's very obvious for me, Karen, to see. But no one looks at it.
Really good point. It's really good points you raised there, because what it is you've almost got to keep thinking and thinking, because we're so trusting, aren't we? Really, as people, we must be, because when you actually look at it.
Art Sibrel, yeah, look, he's our hero. He's confronting these astronauts. No, it's the deception runs so deep. And remember this very simple point I'm going to make. They always, with these celebrities, have roast where they do this. And here it gets back to Freemasonry. What do you do when you join Freemasonry? You must take part in a ritual. And it's basically a humiliation ritual where they blindfold you. They put a noose around your neck. So what basically is happening here is they're all reminded you're under our control. They all have masters, and they all have to. They don't have their own free will to do as they want. They have someone hovering above them that's controlling them, and they must do what they say. It's like I said, someone like Buzz Aldrin, he accomplished absolutely nothing. He did nothing. He's just a man that's been propped up on the world stage. He's never been in space, never in the moon. So when you remove that and you realize that he's just a regular man that's playing a role in the world stage. So
I don't know how people just don't get it. I was tuned into, they were doing one of these like CB calls down. There was no time delay or anything. He's going 17,000 miles an hour, 17 times around the globe in a day. Not any time delay. There's just no way we'd be able to do these things.
Yeah, and this is the thing is, again, when I make videos, I break apart every part of the deception from, concise videos showing, zero gravity, things dropping, which can happen, and things like that. And then where there's no defending it. There's no defending these so-called astronauts. So again, if it doesn't matter.
It's not just that, Russianvids, there's no way they would ever allow people to be in that thing with all those wires.
Let me ask you this. Why don't we ever see these moon landers that are on the moon, supposedly, that are flying around? We never see the moon lander actually flying around on the surface of the moon. We see it supposedly landed. It's static, stationary. We never see any test on Earth of these so-called lunar landers rocketing and doing anything on Earth. It's all a big joke. It's just a prop. That's all it is. And not only, we've seen the close-ups of these so-called moon landers, these lunar landers. When you look closely, you can see how cheaply it's made. Tin foil, Scotch tape, curtain rods. Not only is that thing not airtight, it's not watertight, it's nothing. It's a joke.
Do you know what? Basically, they were actually talking about the layer of these things. I mean, it was like basically about not much thicker than like tin foil. It was not much thicker than a few layers of tin foil.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the point I'm making. It's like this. This is what they do. They know they have the public so brainwashed. They get off and showing their most ridiculous things, and they know the public will buy it, and they just laugh. They absolutely laugh. They're laughing their butts off behind the scenes at how mind control the public is, and they just love it. They just love it, sitting back and laugh at this world. Here's the thing: is these people running this world, they know we live on a flat Earth. They laugh and say they actually think we're living on a ball that's spinning, and that we're going to space, so-called space. We have them believing this illusion, and they're all falling for it. We have the world deceived, and anybody that questions it, we'll just write them off as crazy, and that's what's happening.
I've got an idea. Let's all stick them in the same rocket and let the rocket go. All of them. Get in, everybody. You can be the first one to the moon. And the other thing that's really weird is they have been repeating it quite regularly in footage that they have never been past the Van Allen. I can't say it now. The Van Allen belt. So why can't the public pick up on that? They're actually telling you today they've lost how they got there the first time, but actually they've only ever been that far. If they've only ever been that far, they've never been to the moon, and yet no one says anything.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is they have the public exactly what they want them, dumbed down and deceived, and that's the sad reality. And I don't want to be those people. I don't want to be one of them. I don't care how much ridicule they might try to throw. That's all they have is ridicule. Because they don't know the basic foundation of what they even supposedly live on, and so yeah, it's like and I know this for a fact. When we do podcasts, they listen in to me all the time. I've been again covered.
Yes, you Russianvids. They listen. I put your video out. If I ever I get a notification to say that it's inappropriate. They haven't even listened to it.
Wow. Yeah, and here's
it's it's your credibility.
The other thing is, Karen, I've been from ABC Australia News to the in the UK with Daily Mail, France 24, Canadian news.
And they shot the messenger, didn't they?
So
they shot the messenger.
Yeah, and what the main thing is this. The reason I know for a fact they're listening in when I say that, it's not just pull it out of thin air. So I did a podcast with PK Truth about an event that happened here in the U.S. About a month later, they used the sound bites from my podcast with my voice, and they put it into a documentary in ABC News Australia, which is still on their site, where it's just minor clips of my voice, but it shows they're listening, abstracting what they want to use for their means. It's just a little piece, but it's saying, hey, it's a message to me too. Hey, we're listening into what you're saying. That was a podcast that was, on YouTube, and just, and it's amazing to me how I'm like, wow. I mean, I always thought about that. They're listening in, but it just, verifies it. And they're just sending a message to me. They
got too close to the truth, didn't you?
Yeah, well, that's what it comes down to is when you're close to the truth, they're going to be listening in, and I don't think so. I know so.
I think that's how they do it, Russianvids. I'm pretty sure it happened to me in the same thing. You get shown on something quite big, and the next thing is your channel's gone. Not as big as you, but something else happened, and then a few days, a couple of months later or something, my channel's gone.
Well, that's what happened to me after what happened in London. After that, I was gone. Also, it's covered by what's that one show, Tosh O in the United States. So these people are definitely watching into what is being discussed. And when you're close to the truth, they're gonna try to ridicule you, try to mock you for speaking that truth. So that's what it comes down to. But the main thing is this, Karen, is the bottom line of why we do what we do is to wake up our fellow humans. I don't want to say the word mankind, our fellow human beings, and to release them from this prison world, and wake them up to
what's this zombie narcissism.
Yeah, and and to me, like I said earlier, Karen, not to give anybody a hard time. We really need to be really concise with our information. When people do podcasts, really get to the point. Try to get to the information, the best you can, because a lot of people they want to go on about this and that, but I'm really about the information. That's why I do what I do. No, I try to.
Can I just say something? Remember, we said an hour. We've been going an hour and 20 minutes. Do you think that's enough then for this chat? Or would you like?
Yeah. Sounds good, Karen. We went on for a bit and we discussed a lot. And
Oh, I could go on for hours, but we did say, didn't we, before we started?
yes,
And
we went over the amount agreed upon the 1 hour, but time flies when you're having fun. So we had a lot of fun as always.
can I just say something else as well? You know, like
Sure thing, Karen, go ahead.
when I did this other channel, you can ask Patricia. Patricia's away for a few days over Christmas, but all I could say to Patricia was, Russianvids, he was telling the truth. When I saw what I saw my way by accident, I wasn't trying to be you, by the way. It was just that what case. Um, all I kept saying to Patricia was, he's right. He was telling the truth about everything.
Well, I appreciate that. And here's the thing is, again, it comes down to I'm planting a seed. It's like this, Karen. Remember, if I plant a mango seed today, I can't get mangoes tomorrow. It takes time for that mango seed to sprout into a little baby seedling, to a little tree, and a couple of years after that before it actually produces fruit. That's the same thing. I look at truth. I don't expect anybody to get it there and then. People are going to fight it, and a lot of times people fight what I said in the beginning. But again, it's just a matter of planting a seed in the mind, and later on, hopefully, it sprouts. And if people are going to believe in elections and the moon landing was real, all these events we're told are real, it's going to be a hard road for them. But the people that are at least like, they're questioning things, they're looking at things, and with the independent mind, they'll eventually get it in time.
Yeah, mine was a bit more by accident, though. You know, I was just watching that what case, but it led me and all the things I'm seeing. I mean, I don't think we should even put it on this podcast, but all the things that you were talking about, I just can't believe it. The way that they're doing everything, sexually, the whole thing. It's just what it is people don't realize it's not just a little bit. It's not just every now and again. It's not once a month. It is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If
Yeah,
you turn that television, I know we turn our computers on, but hopefully we're choosing, at least hopefully, even if you're choosing to watch more of what you want or try and find people. But the television is for sure, you need to turn it off.
definitely, I agree with that, and that's the point I'm making. The only reason I have a TV myself is I like to analyze older movies, a lot of hidden pieces of truth, a lot of social programming, social conditioning, and so forth. So it's like
It is just one big program. That's it. It's not there to make you happy. It's just a program to control you one way or another.
yeah. And by the
And,
way, are we
and
are we still going to use this portion? Are we over with the?
no, should we say goodbye then for the hangout? Let's do that bit, and then I can have a few. We'll talk a little bit afterwards. But Russiavids, thank you so much for joining this podcast, and obviously I was very excited and really appreciate your time over the festive time. But thank you so much for joining us, and it's been awesome as usual.
Not a problem, Karen, and thank you so much once again for hosting your podcast on your channel, and I can't
It's an
thank you so
absolute
much.
pleasure.
Yeah, I can't thank you enough for conducting this podcast with me, and again, it's about waking up humanity, and they don't have to believe everything we're saying. It's just I want people to have use their mind to think for themselves and not just go with information that's not been proven to them, and really look at things with a different perspective, a different view, and use your mind. Just don't believe anybody. Believe what could be proven to you.
Yeah, and hopefully we're all meeting a bit more on a conscious sort of vibrational thing. There's you and I know that we care. I don't know. There's an eternal thing. I always feel nice things about your Russian vid. So something happens. I hope you feel it. I feel. I don't know. There are certain people. It's just the way it is, I suppose, for now. But let's just hope more of them wake up. Once you wake up, your vibration changes. Everything changes.
Absolutely, Karen. I agree 100%.
I don't
But
know if I can explain it any better
thanks
than that, but
everybody for joining in. I appreciate everybody listening in and listening to Karen and I's conversation. And thanks so much once again.
hey, well, much love from us, Russian vids, to you.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Anyway, thank you. We're going to end the podcast now for everybody, and I hope everybody's enjoyed this. But to the chat room, and mwah, to Russian Vids.
Thank you, Karen, for that. I appreciate it.
All right then. Thank you, everybody.